Okay, so this is a sikha where the Rebbe spoke, Beis Nissen. Originally, this is a sikha from Taf Shin Mem Vav. It's actually, interestingly, even though this is titled Beis Nissen, it was said on Chav Cheshvan Taf Shin Mem Vav, which is the Rebbe Rashab's birthday. But since the sikha is talking about what the Rebbe Rashab said before he passed away, so look at the sikha, it comes out on Beis Nissen. So again, here, like I mentioned before, the Rebbe takes and shows how much we need to, when we hear a story of one of the Rabbeim, especially when we hear something that they said, nothing is to be taken in a like, okay, they said it, whatever, they said something. There's a different sikha this week in Parshas Vayikra where he analyzed the whole thing that the Alter Rebbe said to the Tzemach Tzedek about why there's a small aleph by Vayikra. Tzemach Tzedek was a small kid. He had just come back from Cheder. He learned Vayikra with a small aleph he wanted to know. And the Alter Rebbe said a whole thing, and the Rebbe analyzes all the things that the Alter Rebbe said to the Tzemach Tzedek. And in the same way, the Rebbe Rashab said one line, and over there the Rebbe analyzes one word over there and derives from it the mission and the purpose of what the Rebbe Rashab was about. So let's see it inside. You're doing Divir Kvek Yisad and Marshab Nishnasei, Nisha'amar Shoyes HaChodes Lofnei Stal Chusoi, Ani Oyla Shemaima, like I said before, Ich Geh in Himmel, Vesaksavim Asher Ani Lochem, and the manuscripts, the writings of Chassidus, Lo Zechayich, I'm leaving it for you. The Rebbe said already a few times, the Rebbe says, that he explained, the Rebbe Rashab's writings enabled that the Rebbe Rashab is with us. That's the point that the Rebbe Rashab was telling us. Why otherwise would it be saying, I'm going in heaven, and these I'm leaving here? Because he was trying to comfort them and say, I'm going in heaven, true. But really, through the Ksavim, through the writings, through the teachings of Chassidus, that's how I am still with you. V'yeser al kein, hu atzmek fishu b'shamayim. Even more so, it's the Rebbe Rashab, the way he's in Shamayim, he's still found in these writings that's how we connect to him. How come? How could it be that the Rebbe Rashab should still be here through his writings? The reason for this is Sharei Tzadikim Doim Leboiro. Tzadikim are likened to their Creator, Lefichach. Kishem Shakadosh Baruch Hu Hichnis Etzatzim Kiviyachol B'Torah. Hashem inserted himself in his Torah. Kipirish Hayidu B'Maimer Chazal and Non Nafshik Savis Yehaviz, like the well-known explanation what the Chazal say. That the word Anoichi in Aseres HaDibros, sounds familiar? That the word Anoichi in Aseres HaDibros is I wrote myself and gave myself into the Torah. Shakadosh Baruch Hu kosav v'nosnas atzmai nafshi b'Torah. V'lachein, and therefore they ha-Torah oisi atam loichim. By learning Torah, we grasp hold of Hashem. It's actually in the Tanya of today, in the previous few days, about the great quality of learning Torah, that's even greater than mitzvahs in the connection that a Yid has with Hashem, because when a person learns Torah, so then he's calling Hashem in an emistic way. It's like the Alter Rebbe uses amazing language in today's Tanya. He says it's like a child calling his father, wanting that his father should be with him, not to remain alone. It's like such emotion in that description of how the Alter Rebbe describes, and all of this takes place in Torah learning. So that's what we see, how Hashem is invested in the Torah that He gave us. They also immersed themselves and invested themselves in the Torah that they taught. Especially in the new insights that they came up with. Of course, there are things that they taught from the previous Rabbeim. Then there are things that they came up with themselves. So it's understood that the things that they came up with themselves, it's like more of themselves invested in it. So therefore, by studying it, you connect with them. So now the Rebbe is going to examine like I said before, one particular expression that the Rebbe Rashab uses. There is a difference between how Hashem, or the Chazal explained how Hashem placed himself in Torah, versus what the Rebbe Rashab says. B'divrei Chazal nemar Yehovis. Lashon nesina, it's an expression of giving. Hashem says, I gave myself to you. I'm leaving it to you. We could seemingly say that the reason why is there the difference. When did the Rebbe Rashab say this? The Rebbe Rashab said it a few hours before he was passing away. That idea of leaving, that's a more appropriate expression because he's leaving this world and he's leaving behind things in this world. So therefore, it makes sense. Before passing, you're going to use that type of expression. There's a halacha talks about there's special rules of a gift of someone that's on their deathbed. It's called a shchiv merah. He's about to pass away, and because the Chazal did not want him to get upset and so on, they eased some of the rules concerning communicating his wishes and having his wishes fulfilled. So if an ordinary person tells someone else, I'm giving you this, or make sure that this person should give you that, we don't necessarily do it because it doesn't fit into the legal requirements. But when it comes to shchiv merah, it comes to someone that's passing away, so again, to set his mind at ease, not to make him overly concerned. So there is language and ways how he can do things that make it a lot easier, and we accept it immediately as soon as he says it, concerning many different things. And what's the expression that he says? Ani maniach. I leave. In other words, the same idea. I'm leaving this for you. So therefore, that's what we can explain. Matan Torah was the giving of the Torah, so it uses the word Yehovis, which means giving. The Rebbe Rashab was a few hours before his passing, so he used an expression that people say before passing away, I'm leaving this to you. It's a common expression. So the Rebbe says, but that's not enough. Many times the Rebbe has already explained how exact the language is of the Rebbeim. It doesn't just mean in general they're exact, but every term, every expression, every word is exact. That he uses that term, I'm leaving it to you. It's not just, okay, when he said it before he passed away, so that's why he used the word mashir. That's a side thing. But rather, it matters also for the content. He wanted to express the message that the Rebbe Rashab wanted to express needed specifically this idea that one is getting hold of the Rebbe Rashab needed this expression mashir and not giving. Und the mashir that ich lose saich benesina mudgish shadavar magia el makabel mekoyach hanoisen. Ein nidreshe shum p'ulam mitzad makabel k'dei shamatana tagia liyadav. Hashem gave us the Torah. It's not about us doing anything. When someone gives you something, you just stand over there. Your hand is stretched out, he gives it to you. That's it. You don't have to do anything to take it. I'm leaving it to you. When somebody's leaving something to you, he's giving you the opportunity to receive it. The receiver needs to take it, or else it just be lying over there on the table. Both of these are to be found in Torah study. Initially, the Torah is called Hashem's Torah. Right away in the beginning of Tehillim, it says, "B'Torahs Hashem chaftzei." First Perek in Tehillim. He desires Hashem's Torah. It's called Hashem's Torah. Ol b'l'soif nikras al shmoi. Right over there, in that very same pasuk, it says, and in his Torah, in the person that's learning, in his Torah, he is speaking. What's it? So how can that be? Is it Hashem's Torah, or is it the person that's studying? The Chazal say, if he's just learning the Torah superficially, it's Hashem's Torah. I didn't connect with it. I'm just, reading it like it's a newspaper. He's really going into depth. Then it's called by the studier's name. It becomes his. Since he had to take him. True, it was left to him, and now he picked it up, and he made it his own. Torah delehi, it's considered his Torah. That's why in the second half of the pasuk it says because when a person puts an effort in his Torah study, so then it's considered that I took hold of it. It wasn't just a gift that was handed to me. Top of the second column, what does that mean? That I'm leaving you my manuscripts. The way the Rebbe Rashab revealed the teachings of Chassidus was in such a way that we can go into depth and we can make it our own. We can take it. It's not just something that's given to us. We're soon going to explain what does that mean. What does the Rebbe Rashab do to make sure that we are able to take it, not just as something that's given to us as a gift.
But isn't the sinner stronger?
That's mitzad the noisin, it's a stronger thing. But mitzad the coming into a pneumius, that's lakicha is better. Echad mechidush ve'ikrim shalad monish yasein yesh loymar shahoy is a yisud Yeshivas Tomchei Tmimim, establishing the yeshiva. Asher achidush b'yeshiva zuhu shenikva besidrei halimud b'yeshiva seder b'limud achsidus. The Rebbe says in the footnote, even in the days of the Tzemach Tzedek, when there was somewhat of a yeshiva in Lubavitch, in the times of the third Lubavitch, the Rebbe of the Tzemach Tzedek, there wasn't an organized curriculum and study program of Chassidus. People studied in yeshiva, and whenever they decided to pick up a book of Chassidus, a Maimer of Chassidus, they learned it. But there was no process, no development, no curriculum. It wasn't set up like a yeshiva as far as Chassidus study. What's unique about that? In it's about students studying together in partners and discussing and analyzing things. The give and take, we clarify the topic that's being studied till it comes clear in all of its details. That's a yeshiva in general. The Rebbe Rashab's chiddush was to institute that in the study of Chassidus. There was no such type of organized, analytical study of Chassidus by people on their own. Yeah, the Rebbe Rashab and the other Rabbeim analyzed and explained things, and the Chassidim heard and reviewed. The idea of putting students in the position of analyzing, taking it apart, clarifying as part of a Seder Yeshiva was the institution of Tomchei Tmimim that the Rebbe Rashab established. The Torah Chassidus v'tein medes b'oifim yeshivasi in the yeshivish way. V'sha'amar ba'atzmai sheretzoynei shalimud Chassidus b'yeshiva yeh kalimud asugis begal shabatoira. He said Chassidus should be studied in his yeshiva in the same manner like the revealed part of Torah is studied, with the full analysis and breakdown and the give and take and the arguments between the students and so on. Ad shachsidus yavinu k'mesh mevinu minu benigla. They should understand it in the same type of way. L'chein kava seder alimud b'chassidus b'yeshiva. He established it in the yeshiva in what type of way? Sha'alimud yagudas agudas. There should be groups studying. V'chol aguda tilmad ois in sugi b'chassidus. Every group should study a particular topic in Chassidus, just like when it comes to yeshiva, when they study Gemara, not this person is not learning Kiddushin, another person is learning Gizvachim, another person is learning Baba Kama. No, there's groups that learn the same thing, so you should have the benefit of group learning and group discussion. Kadei sheyuchol is daber b'neim be'inyan anilmad. Ad she'inyan yirboretz ha'loimdim l'chol protov al derech seder al limud begai the Torah, so the matter will be completely clarified. V'oifin kazeh b'limud Chassidus yesh b'chidush ikri legabe azmanim shalifnei zeh. This type of way of study, nothing like that took place earlier. Starting even from the times of Alter Rebbe and earlier, this was a completely new innovation. Hey, there's a big difference between the revealed part of Torah, manner of study, and the Chassidus or Primis HaTorah. It was initially fashioned in such a way that a human being with his human intellect could grasp and analyze and understand the reasonings and the ideas of the Torah, not just it says so. No, there's full analysis and argument and back and forth. It's not just that the person learns Gemara and says, Rav says this and Abaye says this. So he said, I trust them. Rav and Abaye, by me, I really can rely on them. If Rav said it, I'm sure he understood why. If Abaye said it, I'm sure he understood why. No. When we go to yeshiva and we learn about Rav and Abaye, we want to understand why did Rav hold this way, and then Abaye says just the opposite of Rav. We want to understand why Abaye says differently. The whole idea is to be able to understand with our human intellect what it says over there in the Gemara. The last machshavet fisabei. On the one hand, Torah is Hashem's chachma. No thought can grasp Hashem's mind. Heute da Kadosh Baruch Hu v'himshachas chachmasi is baruch ba'ofen shegam ha'seichel ha'anushi yuchol ha'asiga ad la'asaga ba'ofen shnikras al shmoi Torah sai Torah delay. Hashem, in His kindness, brought the Torah down from His mind that cannot be grasped, that even we can grasp it down here, so much that the Torah should be called my Torah. It's considered Torah sai. It's because I'm fully immersed and I fully grasped and grabbed hold of it. Like in Perek Hey and Tanya, he actually speaks about it at length. When you look at the inner part of the Torah, it's the secrets of the Torah. You right away look at it as a godly thing. When you open up a pasuk about an ox goring a cow, or you open up something in a Gemara that talks about the ox goring a cow, it's a human intellectual thing having to do with civil laws. It's understood how this can become part of the human mind. But the inner part of the Torah talks about neshamas and malachim and spiritual worlds and spheres, and these are godly things. These are not Torah soy of the person, it's Torah's Hashem. How did they know about it? They knew it with belief in Hashem. It wasn't about intellect. This is one of the reasons why Kabbalah is called Kabbalah. Kabbalah means tradition, someone that you receive from someone else. In other words, it's totally something received. It's not something that I can analyze and figure out on my own. So that was initially. Then there was another period of time, another era. When the generations after the Arizal, the matters of the inner part of the Torah were explained that you could have what's called, in the Zohar it says, that there's going to come a time when the secrets of the Torah will be Yisparnasum. You will derive sustenance from it. Sustenance means like food. When you eat food, you digest it. It becomes part of you. So the Zohar says that there will come a time where the Pnimius HaTorah, the inner secrets of the Torah, will be internalized and digested, which already started taking place from the Arizal on. She'efshar yeh. Somewhat you can understand it. Loidak boy from the Girsa Ba'alma, not just in a way of superficially. It wasn't being grasped by the human mind. I think there might be a printing mistake over here. This is a godly idea. It's only the godly soul that can appreciate these things. The godly soul, he can relate to godly stuff, but the human intellect doesn't connect with it. Okay, you say that there's spheres, fine. You say there's neshamas, malachim, fine. But I can't really connect. I can't really digest it intellectually. Yesh loymar shemetam ze lav kol echad ve'echad. We know there was only very high neshamas that delved into these things because an ordinary person did not have the capability to comprehend this. Even those high neshamas, they couldn't just jump into it. They had to prepare themselves spiritually. First, they had to refine themselves. Then their neshama would be able to shine through and wouldn't be blocked by the human intellect, wouldn't be blocked so much by the physical body. They didn't have that capability. And that's why in those days, they were not able to understand the Torah except for the inner part of the Torah, only very high neshamas. The ordinary person had to take it with belief. The Zohar says a very interesting idea. It says that when it comes to the inner part of the Torah, there's no contradictions and difficulties and so on. As opposed to the revealed part of the Torah. In the Gemara, there's constantly questions and answers and back and forth and arguments and so on. This is not in the hidden part of the Torah. Why? When there's a question, when there's a difficulty, it conceals what's going on. The Torah covers over the truth of Torah. Therefore, the revealed part of the Torah. Since it came down that the human intellect can take it, yes, by kushis. Therefore, there's questions. The hainusha kushis in chelik ma Torah gufa. It's not that the questions is something outside the Torah that concealing Torah. It's part of Torah, the questions. Many times the Rebbe explained the proof. How do we know that the questions of Torah is Torah? Maybe just the answers in Torah is Torah, but the questions, when you're learning a piece of Gemara and it has a question over there, maybe that's not part of Torah. Or perhaps not. So he says, Gam haloimed kusha b'Torah b'vad Chayev levarich lefaneha birchas Torah. We know, just like you're not allowed to do any mitzvah before making a bracha on it, right? You wash your hands for eating, you have to make asher kisham says one al til yadayim. Before you hear Megillah, you got to make a bracha on the Megillah. You put on tzitzis, you got to make a bracha on the tzitzis. Put on film, got to make a bracha on the film. Before learning Torah, right away in the morning in Birchas HaShachar, we make a Birchas Torah. What happens if a person missed making a Birchas Torah? He can't learn Torah until then. How about if he says, I'm just going to learn a question that there is in Torah? I'm not going to learn the answer. You know, Torah is full of questions, full of kashas. You could say even, why did the pasuk begin with Vayikra? That's it. No answer. You didn't get to the answer yet. You still have to make a Birchas Torah because even the questions is part of Torah. But the reason why there could be questions is because after all is said and done, this is Hashem's intellect. Hashem's intellect is something that is really beyond us, but Hashem was kind enough for it to come down to us. So, but initially, there's going to be some pushback. The human intellect is even then going to be saying, I don't get this, let me get this, and so on. And we're talking not just us, we're talking about Tanoim and Amoraim and so on. Initially there's questions. Until he refines his mind and he gets involved in the true idea of Torah. The way it was initially, it didn't come down in human intellect. It only came down in godly intellect. In the godly soul, there is no challenge, there is no pushback. Godly soul and godly knowledge are a smooth fit. Because they're a smooth fit, there's no questions. So again, the whole point that he's trying to say over here is that the inner part of the Torah, up until the Rebbe Rashab, was something that was not human. It was not connecting to our human side. It was connecting only to our godly side. Yes, okay, yadua shachidush rabbeinu zochen b'teres achsidus b'frat la'achli gulos b'tes kislev ha'ibakach shehilbish esinyoni pnimis ha'toira b'seichel Chabad. The novelty, the uniqueness that the Alter Rebbe did, more than the other Talmidei HaMagid, more than his other colleagues who were students at the Mezritcher Magid, was that he took the ideas of Pnimis HaTorah and he enclosed it in intellect. That's why we are called Chabad Chassidim, Chochmah Bina V'das. This even took a stronger turn later when it was after he was released from imprisonment. He took it even more so. Even those, since the Mashiach told the Baal Shem Tov that when will he come? He will come when your well springs will spread outward. One of the explanations of outward means that even people that they are not yet refined are able to take the well springs, are able to take the inner part of the Torah. What did we say? In previous generations, since it was on a high level that only the neshama can handle it, so only high neshamas that were able to purify their body, and therefore they were able to receive it because their body didn't block their neshama's reception of the inner part of the Torah. But the chiddush of the Alter Rebbe was even outward, even in cases where the person is not refined, he should be able to receive the Torah, the Pnimis HaTorah of Chassidus, in human intellect. So this already started by the Alter Rebbe. What are we saying is the chiddush then of the Rebbe Rashab? It was still not in the same way how you learn Gemara. שכן לא יהיה ביכולת השכל האנושי מצד עצמו להגיע לידי השגה גמורה פנימית התורה. Human intellect on its own, without a help from above, could not come to perceiving and understanding the inner part of the Torah. In the times of Alter Rebbe, until the Rebbe Rashab, it still had to be from top down. If you explained it to me, if the Rebbe Rashab said a maimer, if the Rebbeim said a maimer, so they said it in language of Chabad, of Chacham bin Adas, that I could take it in. But I, on my own, should develop ideas and explore ideas. That wasn't possible. B'dugmas harav aloymin and talmidei seichel amok mesug sheyefsher klal shatam tzadatz miyasigay. For example, if a teacher is teaching something a student that's way beyond the capabilities of the student to come up with, once the teacher explained it to the student, the student can't find his own words to explain it with. You know how teachers sometimes tell the student, tell me in your own words what I just said. You know, some people, without their minds working, can repeat back the words that they heard from the teacher, even though they weren't paying attention. How do you know that you truly absorbed it? If you can say it in your own words. If you have but such a deep idea that's totally beyond the level of the student, he might be able to take it in, that he can repeat it, but he can't really repeat it in his own words. And that was up till the Rebbe Rashab's introducing Yeshivas Tomchei Tmimim. ובכך היחידות של האדמו"ר משסיידן, שההוילד והמשכס עניין פנימיס התורה באופן, שההשגה בהם תהיה באויסה האופן, שההשגה בניגלה לתורה in Tomchei Tmimim developed this idea to teach and understand Chassidus in the same way, like one teaches and understands on their own ideas in the revealed part of Torah. The Geshem shechelik an nigle Torah gali l'seichel anush b'ofen she'adam yisyak be'avoy k'may b'seichel gashmi. When it comes to Gemara, a person can analyze, just like he's analyzing any physical idea. You're analyzing how to do the best business deal. The same way you could figure out a part of Gemara. So just like one figures out a part of Gemara that way, that's what the Rebbe Rashab introduced in how a person could put an effort in learning the inner parts of the Torah by opening up this curriculum in Tomchei Tmimim. Here the Rebbe says, a continuation of the previous analogy. There could be such a type of teacher that even when he brings to the student an idea that's completely beyond the level of the student, but he's so good at bringing the idea down that now the student himself can use his own, he could say it in his own words. He can explain it in his own way. He can transmit it in his own style. And that shows that he really got it and it became part of his mind. And the Rebbe says, this is something that we see in the Mamorim of the Rebbe Rashab. The very same topics and ideas that were said in previous Rebbe's Mamorim are said in the Rebbe Rashab's Mamorim also. But the Rebbe Rashab expands on it and gives all types of explanations and metaphors and so on. How he set it up, how he explained it, was in such a way that the person's intellect should be able to comprehend it like you would comprehend a piece of Gemara. Now we understand why the Rebbe Rashab chose to say it the way he did. I'm leaving it to you. The day The Rebbe Rashab's manuscript was unique in this thing. He can take it. The human being, the human mind can take it. Till it's called his Torah, the Torah of the person that was studying it. This is a lesson for us. They're studying the inner part of the Torah, but they're scared. I'm studying such a holy thing. You know, I'm sitting here, be'ema, be'yira, be'reses, be'ziyah. Al shachoshim lishol shaylach asher ein mavinim asadavar anilmud. I'm scared. Who am I to ask a question if I don't understand it? These are holy spiritual things. I'm going to ask a question, and especially to ask a kasha on it. Who am I? What a chutzpah. Ba'amram keitzad efshal lahakshis aliyim aprimis haTorah. Hari last taman loy kasha. We just said that there's a zoya. It says that in the inner part of the Torah there's no kashas, there's no difficulties. I'm going to go ahead and stick my 2 cents in and say that there's a difficulty over here. Amnam hu aloy medeina mevin. Yet he doesn't understand, so he's okay with that. Aval dai lebezev shemaimin shemin shleimin shekol chasar primis haTorah ames. I'm a believer. It's enough that I believe whatever it says in the Amar Chassidus is true. That's enough for me. I don't have to go further. Al kach ba hayrav amayna. This is the lesson and the response. Shad murnish neseiden pascha derech. He opened the road. Shedivrei Chassidus yuchlu litafsad yasechla nushi ba'ofen shenigla Torah. It can be grasped by human the intellect, no same way like it can grasp a piece of Gemara, dainu b'limud be'iyon in depth. And with a whole discussion back and forth. If you don't understand something, so then so we know the rule in Pirkei Avos that someone that is embarrassed will not learn. You can't be embarrassed, you have to ask. You have to ask. Moving a pashat that's understood and obvious. It doesn't make a difference if I understand or I don't understand, whether it's an inner part of Torah or the revealed part of Torah. We need to do what's right. We will do always comes before we'll understand. I'm prohibited from saying a doubt just because I don't understand it. I can't doubt its truth. One cannot fulfill the obligation of understanding Torah by just saying, I'm accepting everything. I have bittul, I have acceptance of Hashem, I have acceptance of the Rabbeim. If they said it, I'm sure they knew what they were talking about. Havanas inyan al burye pirushay sha'adam masik b'sichleihu keitzad hakushim Yeshivas gam pnimis haTorah. How do you understand something thoroughly? That the person in his own intellect understands how the question is answered, even when it's in the inner part of the Torah. The study of the inner part of the Torah that was revealed in these generations in the teachings of Chassidus Chabad. The Rebbe says this all the time when people ask about learning different parts of the inner part of Torah, learning this piece of Kabbalah, that Kabbalah, whatever. The Rebbe says, you don't have to go hunting around and learn Nazoya or Sefer Yitzir or Sefer Aboyer or Eitz Chaim or Eitz Chaim. Everything is already there in Chassidus Chabad in a way that it has a delivery system that makes the human mind able to understand it. And a complete understanding. Al derech hasaga the nigla Torah, which if you open up just a Zohar on your own, and you open up another Sefer Kabbalah on your own, you're not going to have that type of appreciation like you would appreciate and understand something that you learn in Gemara. So by doing it that way and learning in that type of way, it becomes a close preparation to that time. There'll be great sages. They'll know concealed matters. Like this is all a quote from the Rambam. They will grasp the knowledge of the Creator as much as humanly possible, have human capabilities. That the earth is filled with the knowledge of Hashem like the waters cover the sea. He says an interesting thing in footnote 34 that how can you can actually tell is the person challenging you with the question and doubting the truth, or he's just trying to understand. You can tell from the style that he asked the question. Based on how he's asking the question, that there's no chutzpah type of way of saying it and so on. He's just a truth seeker. He wants to know. And he realizes that the chesaron is in him. Very interesting thing that you see this especially in Tanya, but you see this in many places in Chassidus, that when they do present questions, they usually present it in a manner of v'tzarich lahavi. We need to understand. In other places, in other Sfarim, you see a lot of times, v'yesh lahakchois, there's a difficulty over here, there's a kushi over here. What's the difference? The difference is, v'tzarich lahavin means us. The chesaron, the lack is within me, the Rebbe says over there in the footnote. When we say tzarich lahavin, that means I'm missing something. I need to try to understand. And then afterwards he says, va'inyan yuvan, the matter will become understood by first explaining this and this and this. In other words, the matter is clear. The matter is true. And I am not yet by the place that I can understand it, so I need to understand. That is the approach that we have to the Pnimius HaTorah. And by, like the Rebbe said, when we have that type of approach of wanting to understand and wanting to internalize, we will come to the time when we actually have the complete internalization of it with the coming of Mashiach. Chaim.